Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Invisible Condition. It's not all in your head, okay? I'm your host, Jeff Pearson. Thank you for being here. Thank you. We created this show for you, specifically for you and everybody with an invisible condition, because we want everybody with a condition that people can't see to know that they have a voice, they have a community, and that they are not alone. Not even close. So, and I am so excited for my guest today. Shawna Cook. Shawna Cook is my guest today, and she's a wife of 29 years, mother of 3, and grandmother to Hillis, who is her grandchild is living with hydrocephalus. So she works full time as a nurse, volunteers with the Hydrocephalus Association, which is awesome. As the chair for the St. Pete Walk to End Hydrocephalus, which I love that. Shawna's grandson, Hillis, was born with hydrocephalus and had his first surgery at 1 week old. Wow, that's really young. 1 week old. It was a very difficult time for the family, but Shawna was able to do some research on hydrocephalus and found the Hydrocephalus Association, and opened up just a whole new community of resources, education, and research geared towards, hope of finding a cure for hydrocephalus. Shawna's grandson lives with hydrocephalus, and so many others do. And so that's why she's so passionate about this and so involved in the Hydrocephalus Association and the walk and everything. So please welcome Shawna. We are going to talk to her, and I'm so excited she is here. Thank you for being here, Shawna. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Jeff, for having me today.
This is so cool. I'm so excited for our conversation because this is a little bit different perspective. We've done, I've had people on the show with the condition. I've had people that I've had children that have the condition, but this is a grandchild kind of relationship, and that is so special.
Yes,
I'm so excited. My grandpa was like a second dad to me. I spent so much time over at his house.
Yeah,
and I that relationship between grandparents and grandchildren is amazing, and I'm so glad that you.
There's nothing like it,
right? What is it that I've heard? If you knew they were going to be that fun, you would have had them first, right?
I've heard that before too.
It's your reward for not killing your children when you wanted to, right? Here you go. This is your reward. So I bet you were probably to the moon after he was born, right? And then
we were over the moon when we learned that they were pregnant.
Right? Yeah, totally. Yeah. I remember that phone call. We called we're pregnant with your first, you're like calling everybody. Hey, mom and dad. Hey, grand. Yeah, totally. So okay. But then they found out that there was hydrocephalus, and
yes.
When did they find that?
Yes. Okay. So when my daughter-in-law was pregnant, we knew that she needed a team of doctors because her pregnancy would have been potentially high risk anyway. So she found a good team of doctors, and it wasn't until I'm trying to remember which trimester she was in. They did one of the tests early on, and they saw, like in the neural tube, that there might be something indicative of a birth defect. We just were not sure at that time. She was then sent to a specialist in Lakeland and did further tests, and we saw in those tests that the ventricles in the brain were filling with fluid. We're enlarged.
Yeah.
Of course, in utero, they don't call it hydrocephalus. It's it's a aqueductal ventricular megaly or something like that, where the ventricles are enlarged, right?
I think I've heard aqueductal stenosis is one that
Yes. And so they were very attentive to my daughter-in-law during her pregnancy.
Yeah.
The doctor was very forthcoming to say, we're going to let you go as far as you can. We're only going to let the ventricles get to this size before we either need to take the baby early, or whatever.
Yeah.
So the pregnancy itself was a joyful time, but it was a stressful time as well because of the unknown. We didn't know if this was something that was going to resolve on its own. We
Sure.
didn't, and the doctor even said that. He said, when after he's born, the fluid may reabsorb, it may start to drain. Because one of the MRIs that she had, or one of the ultrasounds that she had during the pregnancy, we actually saw a decrease in fluid, and we were really hopeful for that. And then it started to rise again. So Hillis was taken by C-section at 37 weeks. And right after he was born, he was a very healthy baby, very good size. It was 24 hours after the birth, they did an MRI, which we knew that they were going to do. Yeah. He was pretty much immediately sent over to Nemours Hospital from the results of that MRI. He had the bulging fontanelle. There was definite, sun setting, that you see, hydrocephalus symptoms. During that time, it was very hard for me to put my emotions in check because I needed to be there for my son. I remember getting that call. And he was telling me, and I couldn't get to the hospital fast enough. And when I did, walking into that room, and he hugged me and was crying, and I knew his baby was going to be taken off. And so the unknown was really hard for us at that time. So that's when he got the diagnosis of hydrocephalus. The team of doctors over there at Nemours, very good. So in a nutshell, that's how we came to learn of that.
Okay. Yeah. And that's pretty common. They find out at sometimes it's in utero. For me, they didn't find out till 2 weeks, the 2-week checkup.
Yeah.
So, but very early. Usually it's very early. So just to throw this out there for the live audience, anybody that's watching, we'd love to interact with the live audience. So I'd love to hear from anybody and everybody on this that can relate, but any grandparents out there that have had this kind of diagnosis, with a tough diagnosis, hydrocephalus, but really anything. Grandparent is such a special relationship, grandparent to grandchild. And so it really can be scary. So I just want to throw that out there for any other grandparents. Jump on and say hi, and maybe Shawna you guys can relate. So, but that's crazy. So were people able to help? Were they supportive of? Once they figured out what it was and everything, they whisked them off and did the MRI and did all that.
Right.
How were the doctors?
Yeah,
and
exactly. That's what I was just going to move into. It seemed like everything happened quickly, but then not. So when he was taken to Nemours, I know it's crazy. When he was taken to Nemours, the hospital staff over there was amazing on how they took care of Hillis, but also how they really embraced my daughter-in-law and my son, as first-time parents. Dr. Gegg is the neurosurgeon over there. And he, talking to first-time parents, number one, you're a first-time parent, but number two, you're a first-time parent and your child has a potentially life-threatening condition going on. This is good. And of course, we on the outside were like, fix this now, right? That was our mindset. Fix it right now. Yeah. Because we were told then that Dr. Gegg wanted to wait a week before to do the surgery. And then the questions kept, well, why? Why are we waiting a week? And that was coming from both sides. And the unknown is a very scary place to be. Yes. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what can happen in that week. Why are we waiting a week? The ventricles are going to, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So to understand that was difficult. But on the March 30th, which was actually my birthday, his shuntiversary is my birthday, which is also kind of a neat thing. If I had to share my birthday with anyone, my grandson would be it.
That's awesome.
So we do share that together. And after the surgery, he was doing great. We were already starting to see the fontanelle go down. He had some little bit of a struggle eating. My son and daughter-in-law were able to stay at the Ronald McDonald House there. We were there every day. I was there every day. I could not go upstairs, which was fine, but I was there supporting. and my daughter-in-law's family was there supporting as well. And people that weren't there, we were wrapped up in prayer, and people were sending us love and support, and for Ian and for Taylor, that's my son and daughter-in-law, and so the support was there, from the get-go. The hospital was also very supportive of them, and my son said, and just a little perspective is, he said, I'm here and I'm meeting people that have been here for months, dealing with, hydrocephalus and other, brain related issues and things. And, but they rallied, and they're a strong unit together. And, then with the support of the family, we're just unbreakable.
Nice. I love that. Yeah, that's phenomenal. So as a nurse, like, this had to be extra tough. Like, as did your like your background and everything kind of like you kicked in right away, probably, right? Like,
it's not, you can't turn it off, Jeff.
No, I get it. Yeah.
I don't, it's not as I identify myself, but you can't turn it off. So yes, my professional background has been very helpful, in supporting my grandson and my family, because, I look at that also, and I'm able to get some resources for them that they might not know to look to. And, and being a grandmother, or Nona, as I'm called, I can be that for Hillis, but then also my skill set kicks in, and I'm, assessing him, and I'm looking for things and doing all that while loving him at the same time. So yes, it has been very, very helpful. And it's also helpful in the respect that I have a network of nurses around me, and at the touch of my fingertips, the company that I work for is run by nurses. So, I'm at just a phone call away from any kind of help and support that I would need. So,
man, I mean, that's almost like the perfect setup. It's like if you're gonna have to go through this, make sure your grandma, your Nona, has resources. That should be that should be the requirement.
Agreed.
Make sure we've got plenty of people at your fingertips that can help. So
right.
So, and obviously that played a huge part in going when you went. I mean, when you went in and what you did, and right. I mean, that had to.
Oh yeah, for sure. Oh yeah, because initially, I work as a nurse, and I knew of hydrocephalus, but honestly, it wasn't until I did my research that I really knew about it. I really did not know hydrocephalus. I mean, it really took my breath away, what I learned about this condition, and the fact that there was no cure for it. And the shunt is the only treatment, and it's been around for so long. And the fact that so many other people don't know about it. That was the other thing that was very eye-opening to me.
Yes.
When you talk to people about it, and they're like, well, what is that? But if I say water on the brain, they know that. They know water.
They can
on the
relate
brain.
to that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, then they make the connection. Oh, hydro. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. That makes sense. But no, it's crazy. I saw a statistic actually on the hydrocephalus. I think it was a hydrocephalus website, that it's just as common as Down syndrome.
Oh, yes.
And more common than spina bifida or tumors, but nobody knows. It's because it's invisible.
Not only that, but the research funding is not there either.
Well, that blows my mind. As many people that are born, just the people that are born with it every year, not to mention all the others that are out there living with it.
1 out of 770 babies are born with hydrocephalus. That's
I mean, if you do the math, that's like 420 something thousand babies a year, every year. Yeah. It blows my mind that there's not. They should have tens of millions of dollars coming in for research for this.
I agree.
But I get it. It's it's always it's not always the doctors practicing medicine. I'll just say that. There's sometimes red tape in the way. But is there anything else that you want to tell us? Like, I mean, I'm sure this was impactful for you. I'm obviously impactful for the parents. I mean, hello.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The news was not only huge, it was scary, it was overwhelming. You know, it almost, oh, I say almost, we overshadowed the joy. We were so joyful that this was happening to both sides of the family. What a blessing, this child, and he is. But the news was devastating. It really was. Even though we anticipated it, you can prepare all day long for something like this, but it is not really until you experience it.
Right.
It's a whole new perspective. Our family is very strong. He has strong families on both sides, and because of that, let me just say this personally for me. I'll say for me,
Yeah.
I spend every minute I can with Hillis. We drink life up when he is here.
Love it.
And to me, there's just nothing more important than that. But the fact that he is supported on both sides and the family unit is so strong, he's going to be strong, and that's just something that I want to, help him grow with. And just to kind of segue into that, he's 16 months old, so he doesn't know that he has hydrocephalus. But I have met people that have hydrocephalus, and they embrace it so wonderfully and advocate for themselves. That's what I want for Hillis. So I want him to yes, I'm living with this condition, but I'm going to live a productive life, and I'm hoping that being involved and being an advocate for the HA and for the hydrocephalus condition in general, I want him to own that for himself. So that's how I've looked at that.
I love that. And I maybe a little later in the show, I don't want to bring it up now, but there is something that yes, totally. That reminded me of something I'm going to write down here because I want to touch on that a little later, but it's right. Totally. I love that answer. And I can't wait to, we're going to dive into some other stuff about how you are having such a positive impact in the hydrocephalus community and through the Hydro Association. As soon as we come back from this commercial, we're going to go for a commercial real quick, and then we're going to tell them all about it. So I will, we'll see you in just a second, Shawna. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. Here we go. We're going to go to a commercial, and then we're going to talk about some of the impact that Shawna and everybody around her are having in this community because it's phenomenal. So we'll see you here in just a minute.
This is Madeline Blair, the host of Unlocked, where we open possibilities for when the unexpected happens. Join me Thursdays at noon and again at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on the Business Network, right here on E360 TV.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Let's bring Shawna back. All right, here we go, Shawna. This is, I feel like we could have gotten into so much more before we went to the break, but I got to get to this too. How did you even connect with the Hydrocephalus Association the first time?
Yeah, great question. So, because this diagnosis was new to all of us, really, I needed to. The waiting around doing nothing, I can't do that. So, I began my research. I needed to know everything that I could put my hands on. I found a book that I ordered, which was, it's called Hydrocephalus, a guide for family and friends or whatever. It's an older book, but a real great book. And then online, just regular searching, and came across Hydrocephalus Association. I said, well, that looks important. So I
right? Yeah, let's check it out.
So literally just online search is when I found them. And wow, I mean, what a wealth of information. Everything is there. Everything that they've done, where they've come from, where they're going, the research, the possibilities of new drugs, and connecting with people like you, and family support. And then I saw the walk to End Hydrocephalus and became very involved with that. But just to come back to HA, I was like, everything I need is right here. Literally everything I need, everything my son and daughter-in-law need is right here on one website. I mean, there is so much information there. And I will tell you that the HA is a fantastic organization. They are beyond helpful. The staff is amazing.
Yeah.
Phyllis Rogers and Marina Thompson, they deal with the walk. Very, very important to me last year. They helped me every step of the way, and to get our virtual walk going. I met the CEO, Diana, and Amanda at a training event that I went to. And, they're so supportive, and they want to be there for you, and they want to direct you in the direction that you need. And I just think that is amazing. And to connect with people that understand, that have lived this, are living this, know somebody who's living this. It's really just an amazing, amazing association.
It really is. I couldn't believe having them. We had them on the show on June 2nd. So it was phenomenal. I had no idea. I had no idea how much they're doing with so little, but they're doing so much.
It's a small staff. Yeah,
it's not a. I know that blew my mind. I couldn't believe how small their staff is, but holy.
They're small but mighty. They're small but mighty, and that's like the company that I work for. We're a company run by nurses, and we're small but we're mighty. So
well, and I love that they're small, actually, because there's so many organizations that are so big that it's almost like, where's the money going, And so, right. and not to discredit any organizations out there, but I'm just saying, it's just when it gets so big, and this is so compacted and concentrated, and so it's just it almost kind of makes you focus more and get down to business. It's like, okay, right. Here we are. Let's do this.
Correct.
Yeah, it's awesome. I'm so impressed with that organization. It's just amazing. So how do you? So you're still nursing. I mean, you're still a nurse. Yeah. So how do you balance that with volunteering, with HA and family, and by the way, finding time for yourself?
Oh, by the way, I hear you.
That always seems to be the last thing, right? And you can. And maybe in your spare time, you'll sleep a little,
Yeah, totally. Well, before I answer your question, I just wanted to shout out to everyone that's commenting for your love and support. I really appreciate all of that there.
Awesome.
Yeah, it is awesome. So yes, balance, number one, is very important and crucial to life. It's a lesson that I've learned later in life, to be honest with you. And some days I just don't know, Jeff. I'm human, and there are days where I'm just like, I don't know where the balance is. I wear so many hats. Just even in my personal life, I wear so many hats. I'm a wife and a mother and a grandmother and a caregiver at times, and and it's tough. but I will say that within this past year, caring for myself has become a huge priority for me. And by doing that, it has allowed me to be there better for other people in my life. So making sure that I give my work my full attention, but at the same time, my family comes first, and my volunteering for me is very important, and is a, near and dear to my heart. But
Yeah.
I can't be everything to everybody, so I take it one day at a time. Really,
Well, and you shouldn't. That's not the focus. I mean, it's like, what is it? The jack of all trades and master
Right.
of none,
Master
right?
of none. Yeah.
I mean, that's a saying for a reason, but you don't
Right.
want to be that guy. You want to, focus on what's important. Yeah. I mean,
Correct.
I totally get it.
Yes.
So tell us about the St. Pete Walk to End Hydrocephalus, and
Yes.
as the chair, what's your goal? What's the goal for it?
So the St. Pete Walk to End Hydrocephalus was a walk that started in 2017 or 18 and went strong for a few years. And it was put on by or sponsored by, I almost said Nemours Hospital, All Children's Hospital. Dr. Jallo over there said to two of his, I think they were PAs at the time, I'm not sure. He said, hey, you're doing this. This is an important cause. You're doing this walk. Here we go. Headstrong right into it, and it was real successful for a few years.
Nice.
Well, then COVID hit, and
of course.
Yeah, and then so the walk went away, and then the virtual walk to End Hydrocephalus was a an option, for people. So, and that's again how I became really involved with HA, was doing the virtual walk. And I really embraced that and just really, really loved that. And so by doing that, Phyllis Rogers and Marina Thompson reached out to me and said, hey, would you consider doing a live walk next year?
Hey.
And I'm like, oh, wow, yes, I would. And so Marina had talked to me about the St. Pete Walk. And I have to be honest, I was a little skeptical at first because I've never taken on something this big. And everyone around me is like, oh, yes, you have, and you can do this. And however, I will tell you that without the support of Johns Hopkins Hospital and Kentley and Carrie and the HA, I probably couldn't. However, our goal is to, number one, bring this walk back and to unite the hydro community and bringing about that awareness. That is the goal.
Yeah.
Of course, the Walk to End Hydrocephalus is their biggest fundraiser. And so, raising those funds for research and education and family support, and that's been the most rewarding so far, is talking with other hydro, the team captains of our other teams and hearing their stories and just, and having them, share that and people they've lost and how they're living with that day to day. And just knowing that you're not alone in this is really awesome.
That is the biggest thing, I think. I mean, yes, research and all that stuff, but that's, I mean, this doesn't have anything to do with hydrocephalus, but it proves the point that you just made with the community. Yes. There are how many soldier suicides are there every day, right?
Yeah.
How many? Right. I think it's like 22 a day or some crazy thing.
It's crazy.
And so because they feel like they're all alone and nobody understands them, or they can't talk to somebody, or they think they're alone in their fight.
Correct.
And it ends so tragically for too many. And so I'm saying that to kind of reinforce your point, is we have to, if we can bring back that community and make sure that people aren't alone, because it can feel lonely when you're going through a surgery like that and going through that whole thing. So so that's huge. I love that they're bringing that back. And you mentioned here, I'm going to put up a comment here.
Okay.
As soon as you were talking, she popped that up there. I was like, all right. So,
thank you, Marina.
So, yep, it's fun. I love all the comments we're getting. It's so fun. So thank you, everybody. This is awesome. So in your research, I mean, you did a ton. You like dove in, right? You were
I did dive in head first.
Yeah. What did you learn that gives you hope, for finding more permanent solutions? Like there's got to be more out there that can help. What gave you hope?
What gave me hope was that they're still searching for a cure, and they're not stopping.
Yeah.
The doctors and that they're still putting money towards finding finding a cure for hydrocephalus, but then also improving the treatment that's already there. To prevent shunt malfunctions. That was the reason that my grandson had to have his first revision. And his first revision was from a 100% occluded catheter. It was 100% blocked. So that's my hope, is that they're continuing and they're not stopping, and they continue to fight for this.
I totally agree. That was the reason for my last revision in October of 2021. I've had 4 since 2014.
Yeah.
And I had one in 2021 that was exactly what it was. They couldn't find it through any scan. They had to do exploratory neurosurgery, which is always a fun thing to hear. And and that's what they found, and it was totally blocked. And it's like, how do you know that unless you do surgery? And shouldn't they, we've been using the same equipment for so long, and it has such a high failure rate. Yeah, we need more research. We need to be able to develop these things a little different. Maybe, I don't know. I'm not in the lab, so I'm not the expert, but I totally get it. And things that you're doing, things like what you're doing, is going to help that. I love it. So, when you were starting to learn about hydrocephalus, what was kind of the most valuable piece of information or like advice, as you were starting to learn about it? What was the best piece of advice you got?
Never stop learning about it.
Yeah.
I think sometimes that when you have potentially, like if bad news is coming, or if you like a diagnosis like this, it's easy to put your head in the sand and want it to go away. Knowledge is power, for lack of a better phrase. And I think that the more that you know, and never stop learning. And we've already touched on this, but somebody else told me too early on is you're not alone in this, and that's also huge. So staying connected to a hydro community is super important. And I know that's one thing I took away from the HA, was just, it is such a vast community.
Yeah.
And that was one thing that Phyllis and Marina touched on, is that we're here for you. We're here for you, and I really, and they are, and I really, really appreciated that in them. And I know that I can pick up the phone and call either one of them, and they're going to answer, or text me, and they're just right there to help. And so that is just awesome.
I mean, I totally agree. We were talking before the show, and I was mentioning I was just on a call with Amanda and Judy yesterday, and they're just so down to earth.
Yes, they are.
You see this impressive organization that's doing so much and out there so much, and they're impressive. But then I shouldn't say but. It's not a but. You talk to people that are in leadership in this organization, and it's like it's just like having coffee. You're just chatting.
Yeah.
It's very easy to talk to them, and which is awesome. So I absolutely love it. So is there I mean, even so Hillis is only, what'd you say, 16 months?
He's 16 months old. 16
months old. But you've probably seen him already, start to, adapt, or, kind of, he's got to be able to adapt to different circumstances, even at such a young age. I mean, Hydro Warriors, launch and adjust should be our motto. It's like,
I like that.
Adaptable, but that starts young. Yeah. What have you seen in him that's like that?
That's a good question. I know that when I watch him, he does feel the back of his head a lot. So his shunt is right there, and he's been doing that early. He's been doing that early on. So he knows there's something there that's not, but really, I mean, he's up and moving around, and I know that I'm the most watchful because it's like when he goes to fall, and I don't want him to hit his head. I'm very cautious about that. But we have a rubber mat down in his room, a playful like puzzle mat, and so if he falls, it's okay. But I feel like he's a normal baby. He really is. I mean, he's progressing very well. We've got some bumps and bruises there and some things, but he's so happy and so playful, and he's just the best baby. He is. My daughter-in-law and son could not have asked for a better baby.
That's amazing.
Yeah, he's amazing.
That's awesome. Well, and I love hearing that because it's all about the. I mean, it's kind of like when you see like a 2-year-old or whatever, and they're kind of still figuring out the walking, running thing, and they fall flat on their face, right? They practically bounce back up because they're made of rubber at that age,
right.
But they bounce right back up, and then they kind of look around.
Yes.
And they go, how is mom and dad responding?
Exactly. Should I
they
cry?
freak out, then they
Yes.
freak out. But if mom and dad are like, oh, you're good, come on, man, let's go.
Yes.
Then he just picks up and dusts himself off and walks on.
Right.
So that's huge. I love that you are approaching it the way you are, and that everybody in the family is approaching it that way because that's how you're going to encourage him to have, the most productive, amazing life. So
well, I'm glad that you say that, because that brings me to another point because I'm already looking to the future when we do tell him about his diagnosis, and that is I found a book for children. It's called The Abilities in Me, and it's specifically for hydrocephalus. So I cannot wait to share that book with him. But I also found it's an actual plastic. It's not the actual tubing or shunt, but it's a plastic shunt that I'm going to sew to one of his stuffed animals. So
nice.
I have one for my house and one for mom and dad. So we will sew it there, so he can make a tactile connection to his diagnosis.
Well, and normalize it, like, hey, this is just another thing,
Correct.
In your daily life,
Exactly.
Man, I love that. Well, there is one thing I wanted to tell you. You kind of touched on it, and I wanted to kind of encourage you in something, but I want to do it on the other side of the break because we're already at the next break, and
oh goodness, okay.
I know time flies when you're having fun,
no.
right? I know. So, all right, I'm gonna we're gonna go to a break here, and here I'm gonna do this, and we will see you in just a minute. I can't wait.
Right.
Can't wait to see you on the other side here. Hold on.
Tucking on my. Oh, you're on camera.
right, here we go. We are back for our last segment, and I'm excited because this is my favorite segment, because this is the segment we talk about what everybody we talk about hope, and that's the strongest thing that any of us could have, because without that you're dead in the water already.
I
So
agree.
but before we get there, I just wanted to say that I am so impressed with how you're doing things with Hillis, because like my parents this is what I wanted to say before the break, is when my parents, when I was growing up in elementary school and junior high and high school, like I had smooth sailing. I didn't have more than a couple revisions over the first 20 years of life, and it was very smooth and very, and so I really didn't think about hydrocephalus. I didn't even, I mean, I had this kind of this bump behind my ear, but I didn't really think about it. I did all this normal stuff, skateboarding, snowboarding, playing around with my friends, whatever. And really my parents were just amazing at saying, oh, well, they never said, no, you can't do that because you have this. You can't do that because you're, oh no, you need to do something different because you're not normal. None of that. None of that. In fact, most of my friends in junior high and high school never even knew I had anything. There was nothing to know. And so, and they just kind of gently like, oh, let's go for band, or let's go for choir. They never said you can't play football. They just said, let's, so it sounds like that's kind of your goal too, like let's just, it doesn't have to be a big thing,
Right. That's interesting, because we have been told by Hillis's neurosurgeon that he will not be able to do any kind of contact sport, is what we were told. However, I've met hydro moms and I've read hydro stories where they have participated in contact sports and do the things. And that is our goal. We want Hillis to live a full, productive life, and we don't want him to be hindered by hydrocephalus. However, on the other side of that, it is a reality that it is a condition that he does live with. And so it's going to be very important that he know about it and know what to look for and know how to advocate for himself and also for the family. It's very important to know what you're looking for. And so I want him to embrace life, but I want him to be smart about it as well.
Yeah. Well, and that's
a tough balance.
It can be. It can be. Well, yeah, exactly. He's a boy. I mean, come on. I broke my arm skateboarding when I was a kid. I've been snowboarding for like 30 years. And only in the last few years have I started wearing a helmet. I've been an absolute idiot, and I'm still here. So, it's boys, are just crazy sometimes. So you can only do so much. But yeah, that's the dance as a parent and a grandparent. It's like, how much do we protect them? How much do we let them experience stuff? And and he'll figure it out too.
And letting them fall too.
You have to.
Yeah, and so that was one thing that I learned. That was actually my biggest fear, is when he falls and hits his head. And one hopeful thing that I learned from a training event that I went to back in February is I learned from a neurosurgeon that gave a talk to us, was that those shunts are designed to take some bumps and bruises. So that gave me some hope there. I'm like, okay.
I mean, the first one I had way back, that I had revised that they got out of there when I was 18 was fairly brittle. I could, I could tell it was a little more brittle, but then, man, everyone I've had since then has been kind of like a little piece of rubber, it's like, it's barely even noticeable back there. And so, they have made progress. I mean, I'm not going to say that it's same technology from 40 years ago. They've made progress, but it's, they still got some work to do, but they're great devices. And I applaud them for coming as far as they have. So
I do as well. And touching back on that, Hillis, because he's so young and really can't verbally communicate to us if he has a headache or, if something's going on, that's what makes it really, really hard when he's so young, and so being able, when he starts talking and learning And I love that little book that you have. I'm definitely going to get that for him, so that he can do his journey there, and so that we know what he's experiencing. So that makes it a little bit challenging, because we have to go by his body language and that type of thing. So he's always been very positional, even since he was born. And I think that has to do with the hydrocephalus. He's always had to be held a certain way. And it's even when you rocking him, if you sit down when he was first born and younger, no, you have to stand. And I really think it has to do with that pressure, that he was
experiencing. Yeah, sometimes it makes a big difference. But what position are you in? Are you at this angle or this angle or this angle?
Right.
But I would tell you, it's okay. You're doing awesome. I mean, really, it's you can only do so much. I mean, really, and then they just have to live it,
Yes,
but one thing we did when our kids were little, like pre-verbal communication, was to teach them sign language for certain things. And so I don't know what the sign is for, shunt or whatever, but you guys could certainly, figure out a sign that you guys know what it is that says.
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
So I don't know. Until he's verbal, that might be super important to, and kind of fun for him to see if he can, learn some signs like we did, please, thank you, like bottle, I think, or milk, I think, because I don't know. We did some really simple ones, but oh my gosh, was that nice,
Yes.
to be able to, to say, like, thank you, you're welcome. I mean, it can help parents and grandparents and the child. It won't be so frustrated too, sometimes that
correct
helps.
Yes.
So,
right.
But,
exactly.
I mean, I'm not the one to talk about that. I mean, there's probably much more qualified people to help you with that, but that was just thought I'd throw that out there. That was super helpful for us when our kids were before they talked. So, but anyway, I want to get back to this main point, is how you and Hillis's immediate family, like how do you guys, in all the craziness of all this, I mean, he's had quite the life and he's only 16 months old. How do you and your family find hope day to day through all this?
Yes. That's the word right there, is hope. So my hope is when I'm looking at Hillis and he's smiling and thriving in life. That brings me hope. When I talk to other Hydro moms and other Hydro warriors that are living with this and their challenges that they've overcome and still going strong and fighting for this cause, that brings me hope. The HA continuing their research and funding, that brings me hope. So like you said, if you don't have hope, you die. So I totally, for sure. So my hope is in Hillis. My grandson is my world. And I try not to cry during this show. But Hillis is our hope. And he has made us stronger, I think, and just embrace life. And it's just a whole new dynamic for our family. And they have really just really stepped up to the plate. So that brings me hope as well.
I love it. That's perfect. I mean, really, that's the perfect answer. So that's awesome. So one other kind of crazy question, maybe in the circumstances, but what through all this crazy, what about it are you thankful for?
Oh gosh. That's a tough question. And I will say that when Hillis went through his first revision and was showing signs days before he was in emergency surgery, that was really eye-opening for me. And that challenge, really, I'm thankful for that, because now I can see how Hillis presents with shunt malfunction, even though, and everybody presents differently, even though the signs and symptoms are the same, people don't experience the same, and he might not present the same, but those challenges have allowed me to, number one, put into perspective that yes, I am a nurse, but I'm also his Nona. And so finding that balance has been difficult for me, but I'm thankful for all of it. I really am, because without that full circle, I don't know that I would be able to contribute as much as I have been. I'm not trying to sound boastful. I hope that doesn't sound boastful, because I'm not trying to sound boastful, but that challenge was what I am thankful for. That as weird as that sounds, you're thankful that your grandson had emergency surgery. No, I'm thankful that how we dealt with it and what we learned from it and what we can do better next time. That's the key. Yeah.
Well, and as time goes on and as he, lives life and has ups and downs and challenges and triumphs and stuff, you'll look back and see so many that you'll be, looking back over 46 years in my life, it's been, you look back and go, oh, wow. So that was the reason for that. Oh, okay. Oh, I get it now. You're going through it and you're like, come on, really?
Yeah.
But I promise there's reason for it. There's always a reason for it. And it always makes itself evident later. It's kind of funny.
Oh, no, yeah, totally. I hear that for sure.
So if there are grandparents out there today who are watching that are learning about a challenging diagnosis, I don't know, maybe it's hydrocephalus, maybe it's something different that's going to change their life forever, with their grandchild. What if they were sitting here in front of you like this, what would you tell them?
I love that question. Actually, several things come to mind when I hear that. Number one, express your feelings. Don't feel like you can't feel those emotions of that anxiety, that overwhelming feeling. Own that and express that, and it's okay. Number two, get the facts, get the information on the condition. It's, don't put your head in the sand, just embrace that. Three, you need a support system. You've got to find that. It's because like we talked about, it's oftentimes you do feel alone. So that support system is huge. Maintain healthy habits. I would almost put that at the top of the list as well, because when you have healthy habits, you have healthy mind, body, and spirit. So, keeping those healthy habits. And last, be realistic with yourself. Be realistic and don't expect too much out of yourself too soon. And don't expect to know everything. And it's okay not to. That's what I would say.
That's huge. That's huge, because you can beat yourself up all day long about that. Why didn't I know that? But I say all the time, you don't know what you don't know. So
that's right.
Don't drive yourself crazy. So
correct.
Well, we have about 30 seconds.
This went so fast.
I know, it goes so fast. It's ridiculous. How can people connect with you? I mean, we have it in the notes on the broadcast, but throw it out there. How can people reach you?
Yes. So I don't know if my Facebook is out there, but my Facebook is out there. Also, the St. Pete Walk to End Hydrocephalus is a great way to connect with our team Hillis, and other teams. It's a great way to volunteer if anyone's interested in volunteering. If you want to form a team and fundraise, it's going to help bring awareness as well, for that walk. So really that walk is probably one of the best ways to connect with me right now.
Amazing. I can't wait for the flood of emails you're going to get or however they're going to reach you. They're just going to be bing, 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 so reach out, everybody. Go find Shawna. She's awesome. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you
for having me, Jeff. It's been amazing.
I'm so glad that we connected. I'm so glad that we found the connection to the Hydrocephalus Association and was able to boost them again, because they're phenomenal. And
they are phenomenal.
So thank you so much for being here. It's
been
an honor.
And thanks all for your comments. I really, really appreciate them.
Thank you, everybody. This has been awesome. Thank you. All right. I tell you what, that was fantastic. So here's what we're doing. We're our next show. I mean, I feel like we could have talked about Hillis for another hour. He's awesome. We're going to post a picture. I couldn't figure out how to post a picture during the broadcast, so we're going to do that after. We're going to post it in the comments because you got to see this little dude. He's the cutest thing. And the picture that we have, his hair is just going, it's awesome. It's phenomenal. He's such a cutie. So anyway, next show, Tuesday, August 1st. Good Lord, we're already in August. Effie Sieverts is going to be with us, and she is going to be talking about how she transformed a connective tissue condition into an incredibly successful bodybuilding career, of all things. It's an amazing story. Join me on August 1st for that show, 10 a.m. Mountain Time for our live show. And we'll see you then. Thank you so much for watching. Have an amazing day.